Hey y'all, it's the Wine Loving Bookworm. I'm back. Sorry I missed last week. It's been a little crazy around our house with various issues, so I just didn't get around to it. But anyway, check out my new setup. My husband just set this up for me today. You know, bookcases, books, that's great. Wine bottles with lights around them. I don't know if you can see that really well, but it's so cute, and I'm so appreciative of it. The other thing I got to tell you guys is that I can't drink wine. I'm on an elimination diet to try to figure out food that I'm allergic to. So I'm on the Whole30. I'm not going to bore you guys with the details. I'm sure you've heard all about it. But I can't drink wine on it. So as an alternative, and something they said you can drink, is kombucha. I know you guys have heard about kombucha, right? There's like kombucha bars and kombucha shops and, you know, all sorts of crazy stuff. I don't know. So I decided to try it. Supposedly it has small trace amounts of alcohol in it. So this one tonight is Strawberry Serenity by Synergy Organic Kombucha. I guess that's the brand. I don't know. Put it in a wine glass to make it feel like I'm having a drink. So let's give it a shot. It's not wine, I'll tell you that. It's a little bubbly, but it's all I get, so at least it makes it seem like I'm kind of having a drink once in a while. Anyway, on to the book. Since I wasn't able to do the video last week, I was able to finish the book I was telling you guys about. It's called Beneath a Scarlet Sky. There it is. By Mark Sullivan. And I chose this book, again, because it was my book club book. We're actually meeting on Thursday for book club. So that's why I read it. Would I have picked it up? I don't really know. I don't know this author at all. It's about World War II, which I generally kind of, I'm not a big war story person, so I might have turned it down just for that reason. But it was actually pretty good, so I'm glad that I read it. It's a pretty easy read, too, even though it's like super long. It's like over 500 pages. It's real easy to read, so I really think this would be a good book to like take on a vacation or to the beach or something. It's not really hard to read. It's not like super in depth or whatever. So the genre is fiction. It's historical fiction, but it's actually based on a true story and an actual person. And it takes place in Milan, Italy, during World War II. So it centers around this guy named Pino Lela, and I don't know if I'm saying that last name right, so I'm just going to stick with it for now. He's a young man growing up in Milan during World War II. It really, I mean, you know Italy was part of the war, you know about, Mussolini and the fascists and them aligning with Hitler and all that. We don't hear a lot about Italy, at least I haven't, during World War II. So this kind of gives you a look into what was going on in Italy during World War II. And they were really getting hammered at this time. This is when kind of the Allies are coming into the war, so the Americans and the British, and they're bombing them and all this stuff. So this guy, I think he's not even 18 when the book opens up. And he's at a theater, and it gets bombed, like a movie theater, and it gets bombed. And his parents are really freaking out about all this, and they think it's not safe here for him anymore. So, and his parents are also part of the, resistance, quote unquote. So they send him to Father Ray, who's a priest that runs a school for boys in the mountains, and he's been there before. So, it's not like he doesn't know where he's going. And he's actually kind of looking forward to it because he thinks it'll be fun. And when he gets there, the priest starts telling him he needs to go out into the mountains every day and get over to the Swiss border. So find your way over the Swiss border. It's like snowing like crazy. It's very dangerous. It's very treacherous. But he's making him go like every day, and he's telling him different ways to go. And then when he comes back, he asks about how did it go, wants to know, how was the path? How dangerous is it? Can you get through? All that stuff. So he doesn't really understand, Pino at this point doesn't really understand why he's making him do this, but he's like, whatever, and he does it. It comes to be that Father Ray is actually sending him out there, getting him strong, getting him familiar with the different paths to take over to the Swiss border, because he is going to start, and does start, running a sort of underground railroad for the Jews. So he starts taking in Jews that are on the run, and Pino goes out in the cover of night, in the cover of snow, and takes them to the Swiss border. It's very dangerous, but he knows what he's doing. There was one particularly hairy incident where they almost got caught by the Nazis. They also have to hide from them sometimes, and they ended up hiding in trees at this one particular incident. So after he comes back from that incident, he gets a message from his father saying that he needs to come back to Milan right away. And at this point, he's had his 18th birthday, and he's turned 18. So he returns to Milan, and his parents are really worried because he's up for the draft, and they don't want him to go into the Italian fascist army. They just think it's going to be super dangerous for him. I guess that they've already been around, ask him where he is. So what they do is they somehow, I don't quite recall, but they get him into the German with the Nazis, but they get him on kind of like a work detail thing where he's, building stuff or, erecting fences. So it's not dangerous. He's not on the front lines. Unfortunately, and one of the times when he's out with them, a bomb goes off and he is injured somewhat. So he has to go and convalesce for a little while, and he ends up getting moved and transferred to a Nazi general, and he becomes his driver. This general happens to be Hans Leyers. I've never heard of him before, but apparently he was a big time, right-hand man to Hitler kind of thing. So Pino is now driving this guy around everywhere. The guy starts to trust him a little bit. He has him drop him off at his mistress's house all the time. And Pino ends up striking up a relationship with the mistress's maid. Her name is Dolly. So that's the mistress's name is Dolly. The woman that Pino is interested in, her name is Anna. So, there has to be a love story in every book. Didn't really like that part of it, but we'll get to that later. Anyway, so he's driving the general around, and his parents and his uncle in particular are very involved in leading the resistance. So they are now recruiting him, and they call him the Observer, and they're reporting to the Allies about, where the Nazis have their strongholds, what they're planning, what they're talking about, and they're getting all this information from Pino. So the story ends as the war ends, but it ends a bit mysteriously, and I mean, this is a true story, so it is a bit mysterious, I guess. I won't give it all away, but there was sort of a twist with the general, the Hans Leyers figure, at the end. And again, the love story, it was predictable. It was, I just didn't like it. I mean, I know they feel like they have to do that, but I didn't like it. So what I did like, the general character of Pino, especially that he was a real person, was really fascinating to me. He was a really driven and, full of integrity kind of person. Like, just did what he thought was right and did what he had to do in every moment, which is, I feel like that's rare. I don't know. I liked the Father Ray part where he was leading the people over the mountains. I thought that whole part was very interesting. And the ending, the author actually describes how he went to meet the real Pino, who at the time was still alive. I have no idea if he's alive now. He was in his 90s. And so that was really interesting, hearing about his perspective from, the man himself, and actually talking to him and trying to understand what happened with that general. What I didn't like was the love story, obviously. I just said that. Some of the writing came off as a little bit cheesy. Wasn't great, but that's what kind of makes it an easy read, easy vacation book, beach book kind of thing. So who would like it? Again, anybody interested in historical fiction, anybody interested in World War II, I think would really like this, because I didn't know a lot about what was going on in Italy at the time. I would give it a 4 out of 5. Again, easy read, based on a true story. And also, I heard that they're doing a movie. Tom Holland, who's Spider-Man Homecoming guy. I've never seen those movies, but he's supposed to play Pino, I guess. But I didn't, all it says online is it's still in development. I think this would make a really good movie. But I guess that's to be determined. So that's all for me. Again, Beneath a Scarlet Sky. I know it's kind of the end of the summer, but it's kind of a good beach read, vacation book if you still got some of that in you. And Kombucha, pass on it if you can drink wine, but if you can't, maybe you'll like it. Cheers!